Yes, they've only played 5 games, but here's what we know about the 2024-25 Boston Bruins so far.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked B. TGIF. Today is Friday, October 18th, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine. Free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And before we get started, a quick reminder, you can find the podcast on social media at Locked NHL Bruins. And you can find me, my hockey thoughts, dad jokes at Ian C. McLaren. Our Boston Bruins are 3-2 through 5 games. They've lost 2 games to the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. They've beaten the Montreal Canadiens, the Los Angeles Kings, and most recently the Colorado Avalanche. And they are set to play tomorrow night, Saturday, in Utah, taking on Utah HC, probably soon to be the Utah Yetis. So what do we know about this team so far? Well, let's look at some numbers and see what this team is all about. And I defer to 5-on-5 play because that is where the majority of the game has been played or is played. If we look at shot attempt differential, 5-on-5, the Bruins rank 23rd in the NHL with a 47.49 shot attempt differential. What does that mean? Well, to be exact, they've generated 189 shot attempts in 5-on-5 play, and they've given up 209. So that's about a 47.5 that the Bruins have generated while playing 5-on-5. So that's not great. 23rd in the NHL. And when we're talking about shot attempt differential, it's basically a signal that you have the puck and you are doing everything you can to get it towards the net. And the teams that are able to do so most regularly are generally more successful, although it's not always the case. You look at the Edmonton Oilers, they rank first in shot attempt differential. They're only 2-3 on the season. The Buffalo Sabres rank third in shot attempt differential. They are 1-4 on the season. The Colorado Avalanche rank fourth. They're 0-4. The Nashville Predators rank sixth. They're 0-4. So it doesn't always tell the whole story, obviously, but it's an indicator that you have the puck more than the opposition and you are firing it towards the net more regularly. Now, actual shots on goal at 5-on-5, the Bruins rank 26th in this category in terms of shot differential. 5-on-5, they've generated 90 shots and they've allowed 98. For a 47.87% differential. All right. When it comes to scoring chances, the Bruins, again, below 50%. They've generated 89. They've given up 102. High danger chances, the Bruins rank very near the bottom, 28th, giving up 31 high danger chances. No, they've generated 31. They've given up 45. However, when it comes to goal scoring 5-on-5, the Bruins have the advantage. So despite the opposition having more attempts, more shots, more chances, more high danger chances at 5-on-5, the Bruins have actually scored more goals than the opposition at 5-on-5. And we know that is largely boosted by the fourth line. who I believe account for 8 of those 12 5-on-5 goals. So that doesn't add up to a lot of sustained success here. If you're regularly being outshot, out-attempted, and outchanced by the opposition, and the only reason you are outscoring the opposition at 5-on-5 is because of your fourth line, there's some underlying issues there to be sure. Now, when it comes to save percentage 5-on-5, the Bruins are 20th in the NHL at the moment. Don't forget, the last few seasons, they've been near the top because of Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman. Right now, they have a combined save percentage of 89.8. And they're being boosted by a shooting percentage at 5-on-5, which ranks near the top of the NHL. So hopefully, as the fourth line inevitably cools down, I don't expect them to maintain this production all season long. Hopefully, the top line will chip in at 5-on-5, and the Bruins figure out the middle six so that they can generate more attempts, more shots, more scoring chances as the fourth line cools down. Because if it wasn't for the fourth line scoring as they have, it would be a very different story record-wise for the Boston Bruins. If we look at all strengths, the Bruins still have below 50% in terms of shot differential, shot attempt differential, their goal differential, 2018, so positive there. But again, that's being boosted by this fourth line production that needs to, or is going to cool down and needs to be balanced with more production from the middle six. The top line has been pretty good between David Pastrnak, Elias Lindholm, Pavel Zacha, but the middle six, credit to Charlie Coyle for getting on the board the other night, but Morgan Geekie was scratched. 0 points so far this season. You're not getting a lot from Trent Frederick yet. Max Jones has yet to make an impact. Matt Poitras was stuck between Jones and Riley Tufte the other night, so that's a very tough assignment. They need to figure out the middle six in order to get the offense a bit more balanced here. On the other end of things, again, the defense has been allowing more shots, more attempts than the opposition. The goaltending hasn't been super on point yet. We can forgive Swayman a bit because he, missed training camp due to the contract stalemate. It'll take him a bit of time to get up to speed. He hasn't been elite level yet. He's been pretty good, but hopefully the goaltending will shore up those defensive deficiencies. That's a big question for me coming into this season. How will they go from having 2 elite goaltenders to having 1 and a guy who's way down? That's a big question. But here's what we know for sure about the Bruins so far. They have some scoring issues. They need to add some offense to the middle six. The defense, even to last year, hasn't been as strong as people believe it to be. There's some new faces back there, so that they'll figure that out. Hopefully Swayman gets to the level we expect. But at the end of the day, the competition may not be too hot for a playoff spot. And as the podcast continues, we'll take a look at how the Bruins are likely going to be a playoff team, even if they take a step back in terms of points from last season. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. They invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect, and you can double your money even if one of your picks does not hit. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's PrizePicks. Download the app and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Thanks so much once again for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine, free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So what we know about the Bruins so far, they're 3-2 through 5 games. 2018 goal differential, they're +2. They have been propped up by the fourth line. The middle six needs some work, needs some offense from there. Defense has been a bit leaky, regularly being outshot, out-attempted, out-chanced, which is similar to last year. And they don't have the 1-2 punch in net to necessarily offset those defensive deficiencies. And yes, Lindholm, Zadorov, they're getting acclimated to the system. It takes time, as we've seen. You can see it elsewhere. A bunch of new faces in Nashville, for example. They're 0-4. It takes some time to get acclimated to new cities, new situations, new teammates, new systems, etc. For the Bruins, though, they don't have to be a great team to get into the playoffs. All right, you look around the Atlantic Division, the question always is, can one of the bottom 4 crack into the top 4, and will one of these teams move down? Right now, you have the Florida Panthers in first with 7 points, albeit just a .583 point percentage. You have the Tampa Bay Lightning. They're 3-0 through 3 games. The Leafs are 3-1. The Bruins 3-2, all tied at 6 points apiece. If you go by point percentage, Tampa's in first, followed by Toronto, Boston, Florida. Top 4 remain the top 4. You have Ottawa, 2-2 through 4 games, 500 point percentage. The Canadiens are 2-3 through 4 games. And the Sabres, Red Wings, teams that are always expected to take the next step, challenge for a playoff spot. They both have 250 point percentages. Sabres with 3 points through 6 games. Red Wings with 2 points through 4 games. And they are at the bottom of the conference when it comes to goal differential as well. So in terms of a team jumping up from the bottom 4 and stealing a playoff spot from one of these top 4 teams doesn't seem likely at the moment. And when you look at the Metro Division, there's a couple good teams and a bunch of meh teams as well. You have the New York Rangers, defending President's Trophy winners, who lead the way, 3-0-1, 7 points, .875 point percentage, plus 11 goal differential. They, along with the Panthers, probably the teams to beat in the East. You have the Devils. They're 5-2 so far, 10 points, 714 point percentage. They should be one of the top teams because of the talent level they have, and after adding Jacob Markstrom. You have the Capitals and Penguins next, 667 point percentage for the Capitals, 4 points through 3 games, 6 points through 5 games for the Penguins, pretty much level with the Bruins there. Then you have the Blue Jackets, who are kind of a surprising 2-2. The Islanders are 1-1, 1-1-2. The Hurricanes are 1-1. They've only played 2 games. We don't really know exactly what they are yet. And the Flyers have disappointed so far as well. So is it possible that 5 Metro teams will make the playoffs and one of the top 4 Atlantic teams could be bumped out of a wild card spot. Maybe, but I don't have a ton of faith in the Penguins. They have looked very up and down. The Blue Jackets, I don't think, are a playoff team yet. Islanders, who knows? They can go either way. The Hurricanes, probably. You're probably looking at the Rangers, Devils, Hurricanes as your top 3 teams in the Metro, and then a bunch of wild cards there as well. Now, of course, many people will come back and say, well, it doesn't really matter about the regular season. The Bruins look like a first round exit, maybe second at best. And you're probably right, as this roster is currently constructed. There's always time to make trades. There's always time to add offensively. Maybe somebody is recalled from the AHL and makes an impact. Who knows what can happen? I always look at the roster on opening night. Then you look at the roster around the trade deadline. And then you look at the roster on opening night of the playoffs. And then, of course, around free agency, etc. These are kind of the 4 seasons of roster construction, or the points that you look at to see what a team is and what it can accomplish. The team as it is constructed now, I don't think it will necessarily be identical to what we see after the trade deadline and as the playoffs begin. So we can reserve judgment there. As constructed currently, I think the Bruins are a playoff team. I don't think they're a contender by any means. And anybody who feels that way is really looking through black and gold goggles. Now, if you get into the playoffs, we know anything can happen. So you want to be there more than not, unless you're truly in a rebuilding stage, which this team is not. When you have Jeremy Swayman locked up, Charlie McAvoy locked up, David Pastrnak locked up, you have Brad Marchand still with a lot to give and wanting to end his career on the highest of notes. When you've got this defense committed to for a couple years at least among everybody, you just signed Lindholm, Zadorov to big money long-term contracts, and they came in with the belief this team could challenge for a Stanley Cup. You want to be in the playoffs. And once you get there, anything can happen. Through 5 games, the Bruins, I believe, are a playoff team, and that's also largely due to the fact that the competition isn't super strong. There's not a lot of teams in the East that I think are true contenders. Probably, Florida, obviously, the Rangers. After that, anything could happen. You have to go through probably one of those 2 teams, and the Bruins aren't on their level. Let's just be honest here. But they're still a good team. They're still fun to watch. I am rooting for them. We talk about them every day here on Locked On Boston Bruins, and I'm excited to see what could become of this team if they do indeed come together, and of course, if they can generate some more offense and get some more scoring, whether it be from a Fabian Lysell recall or from signing Tyler Johnson or mixing things up, as I discussed earlier this week on the episode about the middle 6. So that's kind of my assessment of this team through 5 games. Not what you would call a contender. They're a playoff team. And let's see what happens. And the next opportunity to see what this team can do will come on Saturday night when they are in Salt Lake to take on Utah Hockey Club. And it's a game we'll preview here as the podcast continues. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. And with NFL action coming up this weekend, they're giving you a chance to hit a big return. You can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel to look at the odds for this weekend's NFL action or the Bruins over-under in Utah on Saturday, and place a $5 bet, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place that first $5 bet, no matter whether or not it hits. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check the app for the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. That's FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. I don't know about you, but I love attending live events. In fact, next Friday, I'm going to hit up the Guelph Storm game. Next month, going to see the Arkells. And the place that I go first to check for the best available tickets is Gametime. It's the best ticketing app out there, and they have a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you incredible deals on great seats for sports, comedy, music, theater, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I love the panoramic view in the app. You know exactly what to expect when you arrive at the venue, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Because what time is it? It's game time, friends. Bruins, Utah, Saturday night, a 9 p.m. Eastern start. Very excited to watch this one and see what it's like to view a game from the Delta Center, home of the Jazz. Now, Utah's been pretty entertaining to begin the season if you have not been paying attention. They are 3-1-1 to begin the season. They reeled off 3 straight wins to start. Chicago, the Islanders, the Rangers, those 2 New York games were in overtime. They have since lost to the New Jersey Devils and the Anaheim Ducks, which is not super impressive. Now, Utah has a ton of young talent that is going to be front and center in the NHL for a number of years, including Dylan Guenther, who leads the team with 5 goals through 5 games here, which is pretty impressive. Clayton Keller leads the way with 7 points. Nick Schmaltz with 6 assists. And yeah, a bunch of other guys who are filling up the stat sheet, including Baron Hayton, Logan Cooley. These are guys you need to keep an eye on. Logan Krause. They will be missing Sean Dursey on the back end. That's a big miss for them, as he was one of their top defensemen, paired with newcomer Mikhail Sergachev on the top pairing. Sergachev, I should add, has 4 assists in 5 games to lead the way from them on the back end. I would expect Connor Ingram to be in net. He's their number 1 goalie. He's 3-0-1 with an .868 save percentage so far for Utah. Swayman will be back in net. I am almost positive, seeing as he got the night off in Colorado. He's 2-1 with an .893 save percentage. Would love to see that get above the 900 mark and continue to rise here beginning on Saturday. The Utah Hockey Club have a pretty good power play rolling right now. They rank 7th. Their penalty kill ranks 12th. So the Bruins, their power play has not been great. They rank 17th. Their penalty kill dropped to 15th after allowing 3 power play goals to the Avs the other night. One area that the Bruins needed to improve on this season was face-off percentage. Elias Lindholm came in. They do rank 9th in that area, which is great. Utah ranks 11th, so we'll keep an eye on that battle. When it comes to goals for per game, these teams are tied with 4 apiece per game, averaging. Again, a lot of that is coming from Boston's 4th line. Still rolling at a very high level. Johnny Beecher, Cole Koepke, Marcus Stelic tied for the team lead in points with the likes of Elias Lindholm, David Pastrnak, and those 5 guys are tied at 5 points apiece. So that goes to show you how much heavy lifting that fourth line has done. They have generated 15 points combined. Beecher with 2 goals, 3 assists. Kepke, 2 goals, 3 assists. Kostelic, 2 goals, 3 assists. And then you look down the lineup. Marchand, Coyle, Geeky, your supposed second line, combining for 4 points among them. So not even as much as one of these fourth line players. Can't stress enough how that is unlikely to continue and how the rest of the team needs to step up here. Goals allowed per game, Bruins are at 3.6. They rank 21st. Utah ranks 26th, allowing 3.8. So it could be a pretty high-scoring affair if you're looking at the over-under. A lot of speedy, skilled Utah hockey players that could very well burn Boston's defense and get some past Jeremy Swayman there. The Utah team is also, pretty high when it comes to shots on goal per game. Shots per game, they rank, let's see here where they're at. Where is it? Actually, no, they're only generating 25.8 shots per game, which is 31st in the NHL. And they are allowing 30.6 shots per game, which is the 9th highest. So Bruins need to get the puck on net. Utah, when they can get some space, very lethal. So that's kind of where things are at for tomorrow night's game. Should be a very good one. 9 p.m. Eastern start, earlier than the other game against Colorado. So it's a Saturday night. Do what you can to stay up to watch it because it should be a very good one. Now, on Monday, we'll be back with a storyline, stats, signals from the Utah game. We'll look ahead to the Nashville game. Next week, we'll start doing the Atlantic Power Rankings as we have each and every season here on Locked On Boston Bruins. Also, the Cup Check, which is a weekly look at the top 5 teams in the NHL and where the Bruins rank among them. Please do check out Locked On NHL Fantasy next, as Steal and Flip give you everything you need to get the upper hand in your fantasy league. And please do subscribe to Locked On Boston Bruins on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. I hope you're all doing well, taking care of yourselves, taking care of each other. And we'll talk to you again here on the next episode of Locked On Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day.